This video is going to be my reaction to the Seattle Seahawks 29-13 win over the Patriots in Super Bowl 60. Obviously an amazing game and one I hope you enjoyed. I know I did. Despite some of the many offensive miscues that were there, inability to take advantage of opportunities I think New England's defense presented at times. The Patriots' defense was very aggressive. They had some holes. Sam Darnold played tough with some of the scrambles, taking hits, still getting up off the ground, making some of the clutch third down throws that he did, in particular on the 2 of the 3 field goal drives in the first half. But he missed a number of throws that were out there to be made, in my opinion. Kenneth Walker made up for it, obviously. At times racked up, I think, 131 rushing yards on 25 carries. Just some nasty, sharp cuts, but also at the same time, he displayed amazing patience on some of those duo or inside run concepts where he kind of slow played it a little bit, forcing the second level of the Patriots defense to commit and then cut it back the other way. Seattle just totally dominated both sides of the line of scrimmage, right? They only allowed 70 rushing yards, and almost 40 of that was from Drake May, who was totally thrown off track, confused, and took a physical beating at the same time. I think it goes down as 6 sacks officially. The Nwosu touchdown doesn't go down as a sack because Witherspoon forced a fumble. Then it was originally allocated or described as a forced fumble and then returned to, or changed, I should say, to an interception return to the house by Nwosu. So I don't know how that ruling works, if they got it right. Just a wonderful usage of that blitz by Mike McDonald and the Seahawks defensive staff. I don't think they ran it 10 times like Collinsworth said, but if they ran it 7 times, it seemed to work on all of them except one. I can remember one time in the third quarter where New England's offensive line was able to pick it up. Witherspoon had, I think 3 quarterback hits, including the nail there at the end. I know Drake May did hit the running back for a touchdown with about 3 minutes or so. Derek Hall was a complete force. Him and Byron Murphy had 2 sacks each, and Nwosu got the defensive touchdown. They were in complete control on the defensive side for like 58 and a half minutes, including what I consider to be a historic first half, where they held New England to just 51 yards on 22 snaps. So you're looking at less than 2.5 yards per play over the initial 30 minutes. McDonald, Aiden Durde, Leslie Frazier, all of the staff on that side of the ball, they absolutely had everything covered. Shut down the Patriots. Look, New England did get beyond midfield on their first 2 drives, but they didn't get inside of the 45. Then you're just talking about a bunch of 3-and-outs or dominant football plays up front. There's so many guys that are involved in this that I want to mention. I'll probably miss some. It did, for me, make it a little bit frustrating to give up that touchdown to Mac Hollins near the end. Not a player that I think incredibly highly of for various reasons. But an incredible season, I think, that you as a Seahawks fan know, or you should know at this point, your team was the best team in the league throughout. It comes to an end here at 17-3, 17 wins and 3 losses. I guess some would say, at the point in time when they go to L.A., and lose to the Rams 21-19. In that game, however, they turned the football over 4 times, outgained the Rams by like 130 yards, somewhere in that range. I guess at that moment, when they're 7-3 and turnovers are a problem for Darnold, maybe you or other people would say, I don't think they're the best team right now. But since that time, 10-0, didn't commit a single turnover in the playoffs, including this game against a very tough and prepared Patriots defense. Have to give them credit. They knew that they kind of had to do things to leave things open in the back end to stop the run game. And credit to New England for showing up prepared. But Seattle's offense, well, the whole team, they went about their business lately on offense, right? Kenneth Walker was the jab. He was also the cross at times. Here's what he's done, right? 6 games, the last 6 games, talking about the Rams twice, the 49ers twice, the Super Bowl here against the Patriots defense that, plays extremely well. During that stretch, Walker's given them 561 rushing yards on 107 carries. It would have been fitting tonight for that 3rd and 11. I think it was a 3rd and 11, maybe 3rd and 12 run that went for the touchdown, for that to be the final score. and cement him as the MVP, which he did end up getting. But the hold on Sundell, in my opinion, is clear. Walker was he was the star of the playoffs. Another way to extrapolate it or kind of break it down a little bit, the 3 games in the playoffs, 313 rushing yards on 65 carries. Now, that only works out to 4.8 yards per carry. But that includes a number of rushing attempts where the defense knows he's getting the ball, like you had some tonight. Here's another way to take a perspective on it. In the playoffs against the 49ers, Rams, and the Patriots, Seattle ran 188 plays on offense. Okay? Kenneth Walker carried the ball on 65 of them. So that's just over a third of the offensive snaps. Kind of unbelievable. He got 27 carries tonight in a game that, really quite honestly could have been far worse. Watching the game from a game flow perspective felt like a 30-7 finish to me. I will talk about certain guys and their performance tonight. Of course, I didn't get much out of JSN. Whether he had an ankle injury coming in, definitely was checked for a concussion, got back out on the field. A little bit ominous there when he goes out at a point in time where they have to punt and the Patriots get the football back. Have to focus on Sam Darnold here for a moment. He deserves a ton of credit, man, for fighting through adversity in his career, for sure. I think he's a totally different guy the last 2 years than many other people in the NFL fan bases or analysis world want to give him credit. Recognition is always late, it seems like, in professional sports and at many other levels of sports as well. But if you think about 2024 in Minnesota, and then this year as a Super Bowl champion now, he went 14-4 with the Vikings, and now 17-3 in Seattle. So he's got a combined record of 31-7. And I really don't care about people who say wins are not a quarterback stat. And that very well may be true. Winners win. And at this point, Sam Darnold is one. There's no other way to summarize it. He played really tough tonight. He used his mobility at least 3 or 4 times in the first half to make things happen. Missed a big opportunity, obviously. I think in the first quarter. Could have put the Seahawks up 10-0. JSN's wide open behind the defense. 4-man rush by the Patriots. Darnold shifts around in the pocket, I think to his left, kind of steps up. And if he puts that ball on the money or even anywhere catchable, JSN's gone. It's 10-0. We could be looking at a totally different, dynamic at the half and then at the end of the game. I think he missed some throws, some chances to make this game look on the scoreboard the way that the field and the game flow actually reflected. But you have to give Darnold credit, in my opinion, for his toughness tonight, and his awareness showed up as well, avoiding turnovers. I will talk about a couple of other throws in the first half, where I think he's got the ball on the wrong side. There's so many players to mention that played their best football, particularly on the defensive side, right? Devin Witherspoon, looked like the all-pro that he is. But in addition, some underrated guys, Josh Jobe, Derek Hall. Jobe, I thought, was shut down tonight into the boundary at times. The value that they got out of him in 2025, 1 year, $2 million contract. He made a lot of money tonight. I think that, over the course of the season, even though Rick Woolen played, well here lately, this evening looked bad from Woolen, in my opinion. I didn't see the same level of activity as I did with Jobe, and I could have missed some plays. I could be, really wrong once the All-22 film comes out. Along the front, Derek Hall, Byron Murphy. Leonard Williams had the sack later, but I think it was negated by an offsides penalty. I want to talk about a moment for me that kind of I feel like epitomizes this team, and that's Uchenna Nwosu. He wasn't drafted in Seattle, I know, but he signed as a free agent 2022, I think 9 or 9.5 sacks, right? Then misses a ton of time the next 2 years. Certain people in the fan base, maybe rightfully so, wanted him gone because he hadn't contributed anything. Now, he stuck around. The front office, the coaching staff, wanted him back, and he's part of a historic defense now. I think his cap hit is a little bit bigger for 2026, so that dynamic could change. But for tonight, man, seeing him after all the injuries that he dealt with, difficulty getting on the field or even staying there, to get a defensive touchdown, like I said, it goes down as an interception. That makes it 29-7. with like 4.5 minutes left to go. And the first thing he does is drop down to his knees and to me, clearly praise God. I don't care what religion he is. To see the way that he reacted, his nature was an awesome moment. And you get that from a lot of these guys on the Seahawks team. Their reactions demonstrate class, pure class, and professionalism, specifically on the defensive side. I understand that Job threw a punch tonight at Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, I'm from Maryland, and so I know a lot about Stephon Diggs. Let's just say there's a lot of people out there who would like to punch him with or without a helmet on. These guys on defense played for each other all season. You know, better guys may be out on the field tonight than Uchenna Nwosu from a performance standpoint, but I thought that moment was amazing and something I wanted to make note of because, and I don't know a whole lot about Nwosu other than what I see on the field. He came back this year, however, and contributed 7 sacks that tied for the team lead with Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy. I feel like that moment, the blitz by Witherspoon forces a turnover, whatever it's going to be categorized as, interception, fumble return. It represents the whole defense because it's a group of guys. They play collectively at a historically great level. You have to put them at that status, if you ask me. And then they don't seem to care who gets the credit. And that matters to me. They shut down New England's run game. Like I said, I think May got to 37 yards on some of the scrambles, but he really looked lost for much of the night. He threw 2 or 3 passes I think you'd have to classify as interceptable, and then before finally, Julian Love settled under one in the third or perhaps the fourth quarter. I think the Patriots running backs produced 42 yards on 13 carries, and they were really inconsequential. Seattle was brilliant in coverage, other than a few plays later on. Like I said, the bomb to Mac Hollins against Woolen. It's kind of shocking until you see the replay. Woolen's trying to get over there and get lined up, so it kind of makes sense. So other than that, Drake May was totally shut down. Could have been more than 2 interceptions. He was finally credited, with the second interception on the Witherspoon hit that Nwosu catches and returns. May does get to 295 yards passing, but I went back and looked at the play-by-play. 126 of that were in the game's final 4 minutes, once it's, effectively over. Officially, he's 27 of 43, 2 interceptions, the garbage touchdown to the running back late. I thought he was totally out of his depth for much of the night. In my opinion, if you look back at the playoffs, the 3 teams that Seattle faced, he's the 3rd best quarterback that the Seahawks handled from, Brock Purdy, Matt Stafford, and now Drake May. I was really disappointed. Obviously, I was rooting for Seattle, but I was really disappointed in the game plan or lack thereof from Josh McDaniels. I thought that there would be an opportunity for him to come out in the third quarter, down 9-0, maybe have set some things up. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're Josh McDaniels and the Patriots offensive staff, that first half performance isn't what disappoints me. They should have anticipated it, in my opinion. They should have game planned for it, meaning, okay, let's run these 7 or 8 different plays / formations in the first half. Okay, we get beat. We're not scoring points, fine. Set some things up for the second half. Make things easier for Drake May. If we can predict what Seattle's going to be in, and I just don't know that Mike McDonald, Aiden Durde, Leslie Frazier, whoever, all the guys collectively on the defensive side, I don't know that they gave that to McDaniels. Nonetheless, I thought that his performance as a play caller, really for the second week in a row, was lacking. I want to get to some of the first half stuff here in my observations, and then I'll give you some highlights or comments about John Schneider, McDonald, and then also Clint Kubiak at the end. Again, these are just going to be first half notes that I kind of read out, that I type up at the half. So Darnold was 9 of 22 passing in the first 30 minutes. He had been hit, I counted 6 times, but they didn't have 6 quarterback hits assigned to the Patriots defense. They were very aggressive on some of those play actions. Inside linebackers are coming downhill, and coverage-wise, they're not turning and getting back in coverage once they recognize play action. Robert Spillane was in the backfield multiple times. I thought Seattle had some chances, man, to make plays down the field. like I said earlier, the overthrow of JSN, right? Darnold escaped pressure. Patriots are bringing heat. That was a huge chance. JSN would have waltzed into the end zone, from like 80, 85 yards out. Instead, they had to punt, and there was actually a period of time where Seattle was losing the field position battle, even though they were ahead 3-0 and then 6-0. The opening play of the fourth possession I thought was really cool from Kubiak, and Darnold took a shot to Shaheed up top, and he had a slight angle on Gonzalez. The throw was not great. Gonzalez did the same thing that CD3 did later on against Shaheed, which he made contact downfield, but it was very slight and the type of contact that refs oftentimes are not willing to call. If Gonzalez weren't so talented and with such length, Shaheed could have made the play if it was a better throw. And that's one of my points that I want to talk about. I think Gonzalez had 4 PDs on the night. Not to discredit him, he's a super talented corner. He's one of the best guys in the league. Darnold's throws tonight on crossing routes, I thought were often on the wrong side. There's one to Kupp in the second half. Gonzalez is able to get a hand on it, and Kupp has an angle. He's got some space, and Darnold just doesn't put the ball on the right side. There's one to Shaheed against Gonzalez, like I mentioned. In addition, I thought that the play that Gonzalez made in the end zone on a third down in the second quarter, I think it's the field goal that makes it 6-0, but I could be wrong. It could have been the field goal to make it 9-0. Sam Darnold's late with that football, and he puts that ball in a location where Gonzalez can make a play. I know Collinsworth is talking about they're undercutting things. I thought the angles and the location and the pace that Darnold threw the ball with tonight was not good. Having said all that, in the first half, Kenneth Walker was a force. 94 yards, 14 carries. He had a 30-yarder and a 29-yarder on the same possession, in fact. Other than those 2 carries, right, New England had done a good job. 12 rushes for 35 yards. But it seemed to me like they were having to allocate so many resources to stop the run that there were opportunities for Darnold to take advantage of. And either through, pressure by the Patriots front or balls thrown, in my opinion, either in a poor location or not with the right pace and or angle by Darnold, they just couldn't do so. It ends up being 9-0 at the half. Craig Woodson, the safety for the Patriots, he had 7 tackles, 3 TFLs. The one on the reverse to Shaheed is really frustrating to me. And when you watch that one, I screen record. I screen record every play, try to post them on Twitter sometimes. And, over halftime, I'll maybe go back and look at one. That one was maddening to me. Kupp and one of the tight ends has an opportunity to go block him. And, Woodson does a great job. He fits through the lane, makes a tackle for loss. It was like they had set that up with 2 or 3 reverse paths by Shaheed earlier where he didn't get the football. The 9 for 22 passing should have been an indication for the quality of defense that the Patriots were trying to play, but also the fact that those 22 passes had only generated 88 yards. I get it. They were doing a good job mixing up coverages. They being the Patriots, being very sound with what they played. In my opinion, Darnold left some meat out there on the field in the first half. Meanwhile, Seattle's defense was sharp, aggressive, absolutely shut down, in that late first quarter into second quarter rotation. You did have maybe 2 missed tackles early. I think one of them was on the 3rd and 3. Maybe it's Julian Love coming downhill, missed a tackle, allowed them to get a first down. Drake May to the point where we get to halftime. 6 of 11 passing, 48 yards. He hadn't, thrown an interception or fumbled. That happened thereafter. Sacked 3 times, losses of 30. Their run game was inconsequential. 11 carries, 33 yards in the first half. 51 total yards. Once sacks are counted, okay, I should put it that way. Once sacks are subtracted, 51 yards on 22 plays. So you're talking about less than 2.5 yards per snap. New England's offense, whatever their game plan was, none of it worked. And McDonald, the whole defense, the way that they approach things, spectacular in the first half. You had to know, obviously they're the better team. Seattle, to me, if you simulate this game 10 times, they win it 9 times, maybe 10, just pending random turnovers. Even if you extrapolate that out to the whole season, if you simulate the whole season, I just think Seattle's the best football team that I saw film of over the course of the year. Having said that, you could tell that there was no way that the second half was going to be the same. I mean, New England wasn't only going to put up 100 yards of offense, right? I will say this. Mike McDonald is a guy that, he's the reason why I started covering the Seahawks some on my channel, because I had familiarity with his defensive structure. The historic season that he had in 2023 gets a lot of attention. I will tell you, I had a lot of fun, learned things from no one telling me, from watching so much film, just on how his structure and how he play calls things during the game from his 2022 film. 2023, from a Ravens fan's perspective, was just icing on the cake. His system's amazing. But now you're talking about in the span of 3 years, right? Seattle winning the Super Bowl 2025, even though it's 2026 as we talk about it. And then the 2023 Ravens defense. Two historic groups. His system is top shelf. He's also a great teacher. And then the other coaches that he's brought in deserve credit as well. Leslie Frazier is a guy who I believe has coordinated top two defenses, and I think they occurred over a 3-year span. For him to be on the staff and actually stick around this long is a blessing, right? On top of all that, what puts it really over the top is that McDonald, as a play caller in game, is phenomenal, and he gives the players a huge edge because of his ability to adjust. The only outlier here is the whole Rams situation, right? It's unique. Maybe it requires some type of tactical shift by McDonald in those matchups in 2026. But for me, right now, you're just looking at the best football coach in the world, and it's not even close. I guess the same could be said for that guy, right? John Schneider as a GM. I think he was one of one in 2025. I mean, the entirety, right? Free agent acquisitions, Sam Darnold, Cooper Kupp, DeMarcus Lawrence. All three guys, players that their fan bases that they had left, Minnesota, the Rams, and Dallas, had negative things to say about. It tells you how short-sighted, hypocritical, and really off-touch, or off-base and out of touch, many fans are when they talk about a player for their team leaving, in that they will downplay it. Sam Darnold, Cooper Kupp, DeMarcus Lawrence are now Super Bowl champions. Along with that, you got the midseason trade to get Shaheed. All of that deserves praise if that was the only work that John Schneider did that was, high quality. He had a truly great draft. And now the cap space for next season just allows you to reload. Zabel, Amanwari, Arroyo. Look, Riley Mills got a sack tonight. He looked great. Torrey Horton had, 5 or 6 touchdowns before he got hurt. That makes the Shaheed trade so timely and needed. Who knows if Shaheed is, around for next year. This was a masterpiece job, in my opinion, by John Schneider and the front office. I do want to selfishly link up my 2025 draft reaction, in which I labeled it 11 for the 12, since Schneider and the front office actually picked 11 players. So if you're looking for something related to the draft to kind of back up what I'm saying here, sometime this week, check it out. I'll put it here. I'll link it up, here during this timestamp. You're more than welcome to take a look at it. The final point that I want to make about this team that I've noticed is there's so many guys where vindication could be their perspective. And I'm somewhat familiar trying to chronicle it for you guys because, Darnold played for the Vikings last year, cover the Lions as well, as much as I possibly can. And his, flame out in Week 18 against Detroit last season, 2024, and then, of course, against the Rams in the wild card round. You also have the dynamic of Kenneth Walker being a all-rookie team guy in 2022, and then having some up-and-down production at times during his career. The whole conversation about him versus Charbonnet. He was the offense in the playoffs. It's, when guys like JSN were limited. Let me put it that way, right? The Cooper Kupp signing. Like I said, Rams fans, made fun of him. Some of the details that have come out about the way their front office handled it. All of those players, DeMarcus Lawrence as well, have never heard anything derogatory, negative, or arrogant from them. And I mean after the win tonight. with the media on the field in the interview room, which I just finished listening to part of that. That's why some of this was so late. Everyone that I hear talk is just pure class. JSN, Witherspoon, McDonald, Kenneth Walker, the MVP, professional. And when you get the chance to watch a team that's so spectacular, right? Especially on the defensive side. Offense stunk at times tonight, for real. And then also they handle themselves in a very direct manner, mentioning team and the rest of the guys on the team. I hope for Seahawks fans, it makes you more proud to see how this thing ended up, right? It was a one-sided game. They earned it, right? And put everything on display, especially on the defensive side. I think that we all knew this was a possibility coming into the game. I did a significant amount of previews, didn't really preview the Patriots offense a ton. Was it because I thought that this type of effort would be out there by the Seahawks defense? Not specifically, but this is always a possibility with the Mike McDonald defense. When these guys are, when they're healthy and when these guys are playing at this activity level, this is just always going to be a possibility, at least 50% of the time, between these two teams matching up. It's just striking to me with some of the ways that we hear professional athletes sometimes and people at the top of their profession talk about things in a way that reveals some level of arrogance. None of that comes through when you listen to these players, coaches, or the people in the front office talk at all. As far as tonight's game goes, when did you feel like you knew? Meaning, when did you feel like, okay, we've either got this under control or we're really close? I thought it was like 9-0. I think it ended up being 12-0 at the half. I maybe misspoke there, so my apologies for that. But in addition, for the season, when did you know? When did you know that you had the best team, that you were rooting for the best team? It'll probably depend on your personality for some people's answers, but I will tell you when I started to have the thought that I thought it was a real solid chance that this team would be in the Super Bowl and possibly win it. And it's going to be something that's a little ironic. It was after the Week 11 loss to the Rams. And it's because they had turned the football over 4 times that day. Because Mike McDonald and the defense kind of went into a different mode in the third and fourth quarter. Heavy man defense. It was almost kind of like he revealed, okay, we can go to this mode if we want to. Now, the Rams, twice were able to generate a whole lot of passing yards in the next 2 games against them. But what I'm saying is that day was the one where I thought to myself, okay, that's what it takes to beat this team. 4 turnovers, 2 of which were by Darnold, I think were pretty bad. If they don't turn the football over, they can pretty much beat anyone in the world. That's basically what my thought was that week after their loss to the Rams in Week 11 in a couple of film study videos that I did. Of course, 2 of the 2 return bouts or rematches with LA kind of go against that statement, which is fine. But look, they go 10-0 after that 21-19 loss, like I said, in which they forfeited the ball 4 times. I think tonight was just a full representation of the monster that they've built on the defensive side. And Schneider and McDonald, they probably plan on improving on it. There's some other spots to talk about from a position player standpoint, but the crazy thing is you cannot say that this defense raised their level of play. Yes, when they're, Matt Stafford had their number as far as yards and points scored, but everyone else that they played, this is just who they are. And this is just what Mike McDonald is able to produce if he's got a healthy group on defense and an offense that's not self-destructing at all. I'm not saying that I expected this type of final output, but the game flow tonight supports the fact that Seattle's just the best team in the league. And, really no one should be surprised. I do look forward to getting some film study videos out for you guys this week, in particular on the defense, but also Kenneth Walker III. We'll probably focus on some of the Christian Gonzalez plays where I feel like Sam Darnold could have put the ball in a better location. But I hope you're enjoying this as a Seahawks fan. Second Super Bowl now. Could have obviously easily been a third. I'm sure there's some level of redemption for it being the Patriots that you dominated. I think the groundwork was laid for this one in free agency, right, with DeMarcus Lawrence, Cooper Kupp, and Sam Darnold, but the draft as well. And so at some point, we'll move past studying film and talking about draft stuff. I hope that you enjoyed me trying to cover your team this year. I want to stress one more time that it was reassuring the time that I dedicated to watching film of this team, trying to give you guys hopefully compelling content, at least some of the time, to listen to JSN, DeMarcus Lawrence, Kenneth Walker III, Mike McDonald, just truly be as classy and professional as you could possibly be after reacting to, questions from winning a world title or a Super Bowl. In any case, if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section, number one. Number two, if you think other Seahawks fans would like to hear my thoughts on you guys winning Super Bowl 60 in pretty much dominant fashion, even though the score maybe doesn't run alongside that, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.